On November 22nd, 1963, in Dallas, Texas, the President of the United States of America was murdered. For an on-the-scene account of the event, here is an interview with Officer James Cheney of the Dallas Police Force. I have with me Officer James Cheney of the Dallas Police Department. Officer Cheney, you were right alongside the President's car when this happened, is that right?
That's correct.
Could you describe the scene as you saw it?
Well, we'd proceeded north on Houston Street and had made a west turn onto Elm Street and was traveling at approximately 15, 20 miles an hour. And had traveled maybe 150 or 200 feet west on Elm Street when the first shot rang out. It sounded to me like it was a backfire. I looked over to my left and then back to the right there, and everyone else seemed to be trying to find out where the first shots came from. And then just as I looked back to my right at the President, well, he was struck in the head by one of the shots. It wasn't the first shot, it was either the second or third shot. He slumped forward, and then we slowed down momentarily there to try to see what had happened. And then the agents in the car behind us hollered, so let's get the car out of here. He had picked up his mic and notified the car in front of us to proceed to the nearest hospital. And then Chief Curry told us to go to Parkland. I went on up alongside of the chief's car and notified Mr. Sarles, who is the Secret Service agent who was in the back seat, that the President had been hit in the head and was bad. And then proceeded on up to notify the motorcycles who was leading the escort to what was going to have to do. And then I went on ahead of the motorcade on to Parkland Hospital and getting some stretchers out whenever the motorcade got there.
Thank you. This might be a very hard question for you to answer, but what was your immediate reaction?
Well, everyone was a little bit confused. It was shocked to see anything like that, of course, but it was a terrible thing.
Thank you. I'm talking with Officer James Cheney of the Dallas Police Department. Most of us are acquainted with the tragic story, its background, its people, and its after effects. I am concerned about the after effects. 1 week after the tragedy, I personally visited Dallas and then took an opinion tour of the state of Texas. Here now are some of the reactions of the Dallas people.
My name is John Anderson, and I'm an insurance agent for the American National Insurance Company here in Dallas.
And I'd like to ask you, were you in Dallas at the time of this event last week?
No, sir, I was on vacation. I was in San Antonio, and naturally being on vacation, I got up late and was eating breakfast at the time I heard of the tragedy.
And what was your reaction when you did hear about it?
Well, I was stunned, and I was planning to come home that afternoon, but since all this happened, I don't have a radio in my car, so I stayed in San Antonio to see what the reaction was from the people here.
Thank you. Sir, do you live in Dallas?
Yes, sir, I live in Dallas.
And what's your name and what do you do?
O.C. Hill Jr., night manager of White Rock Cab Company.
And where were you at the time of the event that happened last week?
Mesquite, Texas.
And that's near Dallas?
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you, what was your first reaction when you did hear about the tragic event?
I suppose that I reacted just like every other normal American. I was shocked and couldn't hardly believe it.
And what's your name?
Diane Moore.
And Diane, are you from Dallas?
Yes, sir.
And I take it you're a student, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, Diane, where were you at the time that President Kennedy was assassinated last Friday?
I was at the lunchroom of our school.
And what was your reaction when you heard about it?
I didn't believe it.
And what do you think now about it?
I still can't believe it.
Thank you. And what's your name?
Lawrence Coward.
And are you from Dallas? And what do you do?
I'm from Dallas. Work for Atlantic Refining Company.
And what were you doing at the time that you heard about the president's assassination?
Well, I was sitting at my desk. Somebody called, the man who works with me, his wife called and said that the president had been shot.
And what was your first reaction?
Well, I was horrified.
And what are you doing down here tonight?
Well, this is my first chance to get down here to see the flowers and things that the people of Dallas put here. I just came down to kind of see it. I hadn't had the heart to come down earlier than this.
Thank you. While I was in Dallas, I personally felt the anxiety of the people. Listen now as my partner, Harry Romish of Hinckley, Ohio, describes the scene of the tragedy 1 week after the event.
I'm standing in front of the Dealey Plaza Park, the park directly across from Route 80, which was the highway President Kennedy rode down when he was fatally shot. This park lies about 500 feet west of the Texas School Book Depository, which Lee Harvey Oswald committed his dastardly crime. The park is beautifully but simply decorated with wreaths, flowers, and shrubbery, which have been donated by various groups and organizations here in the city of Dallas. At this moment, there are at least 300 to 400 people here, some talking over the incident, some praying, and some just looking. The people that are here now have not come in curiosity, but are here solely because inside of them they feel the great loss of one of our most dynamic presidents of all time. They do not smile or talk loud. It seems they still have not overcome the shock of what has happened.
Some people, especially in other parts of the country, like to point to Dallas and blame it for the tragedy. And then there are others who pridefully boast that it was one of those radical political groups now in evidence in our great free country. I personally was very moved by the death of our president. It shocked me because in a country like ours, the opposition has the free opportunity to sway public opinion towards their beliefs, and there is no need to point a rifle to remove an official. I am also now greatly moved that there are people and even groups that feel that the different political factions, right or left, should be censored and thwarted. This troubles me because if this should happen, then it might become necessary to take a rifle in hand to remove the official. As it is now, it is not necessary, and the different political factions, right and left, are aware of this. So one cannot rightly blame the factions. Oh, but you say these factions breed hate and cause trouble indirectly. Yes, you are right, they do this. Throughout the history of mankind, there have been, and will be for some time to come, those poor souls who cannot vent their emotions in any other direction but that it seems orthodox in our sense of the word. And when one of these poor souls does a dastardly deed, we then blame the group to which he was associated. I don't know what Lee Harvey Oswald would have been if there were no communists, rightists, socialists, leftists, laborists, but if these groups were non-existent, one can be sure that there would be some group or cause that a sin-sick soul like Lee Harvey Oswald would cling to. Lee Harvey Oswald was an individual, one sick, bent soul that became obsessed with a cause. It was Lee Harvey Oswald that killed the president, and not the cause. Yes, but you say the cause directed him to his obsession. But no matter how we look at it, Lee Oswald was sick and bent in the first place. I live personally near New York City, and I can tell you that a thing like this was far more prone to happen there than in any of the southern cities. The president avoided New York as much as possible, and very seldom could he be seen in that city without the protective bubble hood over the hood of the car he was riding. I hope I don't appear to be defending certain cities or people, but I do want to emphasize to those who are not aware of the attributes of other sections of the country, you poor shelled people, that the event in Dallas, Texas, was not caused by Dallas or Texas, and Lee Harvey Oswald, that sin-sick, bent soul, was the one who killed our loved president, and not the rightist or the leftist. This is Jerry Hahn. Thank you.